Story 1. This took place 5 years ago, but it's something I will never forget. It all occurred on a Thursday night that seemed perfectly normal. I was doing some late night shopping at the supermarket. Since it was a bit later, it wasn't nearly as crowded. A few people were here and they're also shopping, but I managed to get what I needed pretty fast. In the process of doing this, however, there was one shopper I kept noticing. It was this woman with blonde hair, sort of messy, and it felt like she was watching me because I noticed her once and then again at the other end of the store. I thought it was a coincidence until I saw her another time, and that time she was just walking behind me. She didn't have a cart or anything and didn't really seem to be shopping. I never saw her looking at any items on the shelves. It just seemed weird to me. I saw her several more times as I shopped, but overall I just ignored her. Eventually, I was done and I went to check out. I didn't see her anymore then. After I paid for everything, I walked out to my car and still didn't notice the woman. I figured that she must have stopped following me at some point. I didn't know why she had been seemingly following me, but I really didn't care anymore. So, I left the store and I went back home. I lived alone in a smaller house at this time, and it was maybe 10 minutes away, so I got back and then brought everything inside my house. While I was putting the groceries away, I saw this car going down my street. It then pulled onto the side of the road and stopped right in front of my house. The car's headlights turned off and then I heard the engine turn off as well. I didn't know who was driving and this had never really happened before. I walked over to the front window in the living room and looked out to see. Obviously, it was too dark to tell who was driving. I watched the car for a while and nobody got out. It was suspicious, but eventually I ignored it and moved on. I was tired and had to be going to bed soon, so I remember that I got ready for bed and then looked out the window once more. The car was still there. I hadn't noticed anybody getting out of it, though. I figured that most likely somebody had gotten out and I just didn't notice. They probably went to one of the neighbors' houses. Why they parked in front of my house, I didn't know, but whatever. So, I went to bed. After falling asleep, I woke up sometime in the night. I remember a very short time after waking, I heard a noise from my window. I looked over and saw a woman staring at me directly on the other side. It was the same woman I had seen at the grocery store. I was really confused. I got up and turned on all the lights. She moved away from the window, and then I went into the living room. When I got there, I saw the woman running through my front yard. She then got inside of the car that was still parked on the side of the road in front of my house. Then she drove away. So, it was her who was driving the car. I really didn't know what to do. I called the police and reported the incident, but the woman was long gone. I didn't know her license plate or anything. The only thing that I could do was tell them what happened and give them a basic description of her. But luckily, after that, I never saw her again. Story 2. I used to work at a smaller grocery store when I was younger. This was back when I was in high school. And back then, between school and work, I was really busy. I mostly worked in the produce section stocking shelves, but I would really do whatever they needed me to. I'm not proud of this, but I would occasionally hide in the back room and go on my phone when I didn't have much work to do in the store or when things were quiet. One day, things weren't very busy, and I went into the back room of the store and started to use my phone. I had my walkie-talkie on me in case anyone needed me, and people would rarely go in the back. I would say about 10 minutes after I got back there, I heard the doors to the back room swing open. I assumed it was my boss or a coworker, and I had a little time before they would reach me. So, I ran into the bathroom that was back there and quietly shut the door. I heard them walk in and then I heard another person. Both the people got what sounded like about 15 feet away from me and then started talking, but it wasn't my boss's voice or any coworker that I recognized. I then heard them walking around and talking with one another, but I couldn't make out most of the words they were saying. Then I heard one of them talk about a car in the back. Before long, I was able to make out the fact that they were robbing our store. We didn't have the greatest security because of us being an older and smaller store, and I tried not to make a sound. I was hoping they would just leave already. They kept talking though, and at last it sounded like they were going to leave. That's when suddenly I got a beep on my walkie from someone trying to reach me. I quickly turned it off so I wouldn't make another sound. Unfortunately, the damage was already done. I heard one of the men ask what that sound was. They then started to walk over to the bathroom and one of them banged on the door 2 times loudly. The man yelled at me and demanded to know who I was. I didn't answer. He then told me to come out in a very stern tone of voice. I decided to say the first thing that came to my mind. I told the man that I had already called the police and they were almost there. I was surprised, but it seemed to work. The man didn't say anything more and I heard them both walk away. I stayed in there for a while and then turned my walkie back on. My boss had been trying to reach me for a while. I came back out into the store and the police, who actually did get called by someone else, arrived a short time later. Story 3. This is something that happened last year. I went to the store one night to get a few groceries. I shop there all the time and there are so many in the area that I live in. On this particular time though, it was a quiet night. I'm not sure of the exact time, but it was a little bit later. I was expecting it to be pretty easy to get what I needed, as stores are generally not very busy at night. Sure enough, after entering, the place was dead. I really only saw employees for the first couple minutes of being inside. I went to one side of the store to an aisle and was starting to get items. That's when this woman approached me. I wasn't sure where she had come from, but she said hi and asked if she could ask me a question. Technically, she already had, but I said yes anyways. I was curious to know what she wanted. The woman then proceeded to ask me if I would be willing to give her a ride. As the woman spoke, I also sensed that she appeared to be impaired by something, possibly alcohol, possibly some sort of drugs. I didn't know for sure, but she seemed off. I told the woman that I would not be able to give her a ride. I know better than to drive a random stranger around. It seemed like the recipe for a disaster. The woman told me that she didn't need to go very far. Still, I said that I couldn't do it. The woman then kind of said okay and just walked off. It was really awkward, but I was glad that she finally left me alone. So, I continued my shopping after that. Probably 10 minutes later, I found myself at the complete opposite end of the store. I was just about done with my shopping when I noticed the woman approaching me again. My heart sank. I looked over and the woman once more asked me if I could give her a ride. I told her no for the second time. This time though, the woman reacted angrily. She started cursing at me and calling me names. Most of what she said was not completely clear, but it was clear that she was not happy with me. I just started to walk away. The woman first walked towards me for a short time before turning and walking in another direction. I was really glad that I never agreed to give her a ride, but still I was unhappy about having such a bad interaction. I decided to leave then and I headed over and checked out. That took a few minutes and then I left the store and walked to my car. During this time, I did not pay the best attention to my surroundings because when I got to my vehicle, I unlocked the door and went inside. Just seconds later, I heard somebody trying to open the back door to my car. Luckily for me though, when I unlock my car, it only unlocks the front 2 doors. You have to press the unlock button twice to unlock the back. When this happened, I looked and saw the woman right there. I didn't know where she had come from, but she was now trying to enter my vehicle. After she couldn't get in, she didn't bother to try the front. Instead, she started hitting my car. At first, I thought she was punching it, but it made really loud noises. As she delivered more blows to the back doors and window area of my vehicle, I noticed that she appeared to be holding a rock. I quickly then started my car and drove away. The woman was still holding the rock and standing there when I left. She eventually tossed it at my vehicle but missed. I drove off the property and then called the police on the woman. I'm really glad that I did not give her a ride. Story 4. I used to work at a smaller grocery store. I worked there for several years from the time I was a senior in high school all the way through college. The entire time I was there, I was just part-time. I got to know just about all the other employees. We only had probably 10 to 15 total employees at once, because the store really wasn't that big. It had just 3 check lanes, and it would never get all that busy. The store was located on the edge between a residential area and a more commercial area. I liked working there because it was calm compared to the busier and more popular grocery stores. There were also a lot of regular customers, and I would get to know some of them. I was mostly just a cashier when I worked there. There was one terrifying experience that happened that I will never forget, though. I was working from 4 o'clock p.m. to 9 p.m., which was also the time that we closed. It was a quiet night. Things were normal for the most part until sometime after 8 o'clock. By that point, it was just myself and one other co-worker, a girl named Amanda. She was working in the back room of the store at the time, organizing things. Sometime after 8:38, man entered the store. At that point, no other customers were inside. Soon, he went out of my sight. Some time went by and I didn't see or hear the man at all. Nobody else came in either. It wasn't unusual, but we were closing soon, so I was kind of hoping that the guy would hurry up. I announced that we would be closing in 15 minutes at 8:45. Still saw no sign of him. When 9 o'clock hit, he was still nowhere to be seen. I made the announcement that we were closed with no luck. From where I was, I really couldn't see a lot of the store, just the immediate area and part of the nearby aisles. After a few minutes, I decided that I should go find the guy and let him know that he had to stop shopping now. I also wondered where Amanda was. Usually, when we closed, she would come out of the back room and we would leave together. She must have been finishing up, so I got up from my check lane and started to walk through the aisles. I hadn't seen a sign of the guy since he entered the store really. I hadn't heard anything either. It didn't take me very long to look through most of the aisles because the store wasn't all that big. But when I had made it towards the back, I still hadn't seen the guy at all. I thought maybe he left without me noticing. I just know that I would have noticed though. The only entrance exit to the store was to my right from the check lanes, and I would have heard the doors opening. I knew he was still in here. Wherever he was though, I couldn't tell. I decided to go to the back room of the store to get Amanda. Then we could both look. The back room of the store was pretty typical and it ran along the entire back side of the store. We kept extra products there and that's also where we would get all of our deliveries. I walked closer to the door and when I was maybe 10 feet away from it, I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. I stopped and took my phone out. I saw that I had a text from Amanda. It said, "Get out of the store." I was confused when I read this, but before I could respond, I got another text. This one was also from Amanda and said, "A man came into the back room and tried to attack me. I left, but he's still inside." I looked at the door to the back room just 10 feet away. Then I turned around and sprinted for the front of the store. I went out the exit, got outside, and ran for my car. When I made it inside, I called Amanda. She told me that she had called the police already and they were on the way. I waited inside my car for about 5 minutes until they showed up. Then I watched them enter the store. About 10 minutes later, they left with the man. He had still been in there and was hiding in the back room. I had never seen him before that day, and I didn't know why he came to our store or what exactly his intentions were. But after he went in the back room, I guess Amanda told him that he wasn't supposed to be back there. He then approached her without saying a word and grabbed her. She struggled and was able to get away from him. He chased her to one of the doors leading outside, and when she left, he remained in the back room. If I had gone back there, I don't know what would have happened. I'm really glad that Amanda texted me when she did.